Sometimes the strangest comedies are the ones that vanish quickly. Clarence may have been short-lived, but the bizarre facts behind it will truly surprise you. Fact 1.
And I'm going home to my hobby.
Your hobby? What's that?
Watch repairing.
Clarence was not your typical butler. Instead of gliding smoothly through hallways, he stumbled through every room like it was a minefield. His nearsightedness turned ordinary chores into full-scale disasters, and viewers never knew whether he would crash into a chair or pour tea into a shoe. Even the simplest tasks, like carrying a tray, became miniature adventures of chaos. He was earnest in his efforts, always trying to do the right thing, but fate seemed determined to trip him up at every turn. Doors refused to open properly, carpets slipped under his feet, and lamps seemed to fall over the moment he walked by. This constant clumsiness gave the show its unique energy, because Clarence wasn't being silly on purpose. He was genuinely trying his hardest. His accidents felt inevitable, like gravity was working extra hard against him. Fans loved that combination of innocence and disaster, laughing at the mishaps while secretly rooting for him. He wasn't a cruel caricature, he was a sweet man caught in the wrong body. Clarence turned daily life into a battlefield where every object was an enemy. The charm lay in his determination to keep going no matter how many times he failed. Watching him dust furniture was as suspenseful as an action movie. Every plate he touched looked doomed, and every step carried the risk of catastrophe. Clarence proved that a butler could be unforgettable, not by being perfect, but by being a lovable, walking disaster.
What I do appreciate is a nice bit of Chippendale. Look at that. Look at the grain in that.
Fact 2.
Are you ready for this? Because this is for good, you know. Forever.
Beneath the slapstick chaos, Clarence carried the heart of a love story that was as sweet as it was bizarre. He adored Jane Travers, the maid who somehow understood his gentle but disastrous soul. Their romance was awkward, tender, and often interrupted by Clarence's endless blunders. A bouquet of flowers meant to impress her might end up scattered across the floor. A heartfelt declaration could collapse into stammering nonsense that made Jane giggle rather than swoon. Their relationship moved slowly, built on tiny gestures rather than dramatic speeches. This gentle pace made their bond more believable and more endearing. The comedy came not from cruelty, but from Clarence's inability to keep control of even the simplest romantic moment. A spilled drink or a broken chair became symbols of his nervous love. Jane, however, rarely lost patience, and her calm acceptance balanced his chaos. Viewers loved the mix of clumsy affection and true devotion. It gave the series a soft centre beneath the slapstick surface. Their romance showed that love could survive shattered plates and endless misunderstandings. Every smile from Jane felt like a victory for Clarence. Their courtship may have been riddled with disasters, but it was impossible not to root for them. In the end, their awkward love story became one of the most bizarre and charming aspects of the series.
You're very good at close work, aren't you?
If you let me get close enough, I'll show you how good.
Fact 3.
I told you that Paris toilet water would do the trick.
Certainly did. I smell like a Paris toilet.
Although Clarence was set in the 1930s, the world never felt like a straightforward period piece. Instead, it was exaggerated, almost like a dream version of the past. Chairs collapsed far too easily, doors jammed at the worst possible times, and carpets slipped like they were alive. Every part of Clarence's environment seemed designed to trip him up. This turned daily life into a stage for bizarre comedy, where nothing behaved the way it should. Even making a cup of tea felt like an epic struggle between man and kettle. Viewers quickly realised that the house itself was as much a character as Clarence. Furniture wasn't trustworthy, windows weren't safe, and even a garden hose became an enemy. The strangeness of the setting amplified Clarence's ineptitude. Ordinary chores became monumental challenges, making small mishaps feel enormous. It was a world where disaster lurked behind every curtain. By making the 1930s just a little too chaotic, the series created a unique comic atmosphere. Fans loved how it felt familiar, yet utterly bizarre. In Clarence's home, even peace and quiet turned into comedy.
Oh, no, I mustn't. I've got scruples.
Oh, that's all right. I had them when I was a kid.
Fact 4.
I know you did. I just thought it'd be a nice place to stop to have our sandwiches.
Clarence was a walking accident waiting to happen, and that was the joy of the show. If something could fall, it fell as soon as Clarence touched it. Plates smashed around him with alarming regularity. Windows broke the moment he tried to clean them. Lamps toppled as though they were terrified of his presence. He couldn't even sit on a chair without the legs buckling beneath him. These endless mishaps weren't forced. They felt natural to Clarence's world. His attempts to fix things always made them worse, creating a domino effect of disasters. A broken cup might lead to a spilled tray, which led to slipping on the floor, which led to more destruction. Viewers held their breath waiting for the next calamity. The humour came from his sincerity. He never wanted to cause trouble, but chaos followed him anyway. Each accident was a performance in itself, carefully timed, yet looking completely accidental. The show turned clumsiness into an art form. By the end of each episode, Clarence had left a trail of hilarious destruction behind him.
I was never to show me face there again.
She'll come round later on.
Not round here, she won't, fat old faggot.
Fact 5.
Pack up all our cares and woe, here we go, singing low. Bye, bye, Peckham.
Clarence dreamed of being a refined gentleman, but his body and behaviour refused to cooperate. He wore stiff suits that never quite fit, giving him the appearance of a child playing dress-up. His attempts at bows or handshakes often ended in calamity. A polite bow could send him tumbling forward into a table. Holding a teacup with dignity usually meant spilling tea down his shirt. Despite his efforts to appear formal, his clumsiness betrayed him instantly. This contradiction made him a sympathetic figure. He wanted to be respected, but life seemed determined to embarrass him. His noble intentions often collapsed into slapstick humiliation. Viewers laughed, but they also pitied him. He wasn't arrogant, just tragically unsuited for refinement. Every scene highlighted the gap between who Clarence wanted to be and who he really was. That gap created both comedy and charm. He became the perfect portrait of the awkward gentleman, full of dignity in theory but chaos in practice.
And you know, I reckon the only reason we won was the fact we was all determined to recapture my bleeding radishes.
Fact 6.
When was he King of England?
Who?
Don Bradman.
Clarence wasn't the only odd one in his world. The people around him were equally strange. Jane Travers, the maid he adored, often stood by patiently while chaos unfolded. Neighbours whispered about his latest disaster, sometimes adding their own exaggerations. Friends offered helpful advice that only led to further trouble. Other characters treated him like a child, gently guiding him through simple tasks. Some took advantage of his gullibility, tricking him into foolish situations. Each side character added a new flavour of comedy. They weren't just background figures, they highlighted Clarence's eccentricities. A tea guest might end up wearing their drink instead of sipping it. A neighbour's visit could end in smashed furniture. Their reactions ranged from shock to resigned amusement. By surrounding Clarence with odd personalities, the show built a world of absurdity. Every interaction became another excuse for mayhem. Together, these strange side characters kept the comedy alive and unpredictable.
Faithful friend, I'll go and fetch your slippers for you.
Oh, yes, that's all very well, but I'm more interested in when you're going to start wagging your tail.
Fact 7.
Fine. Yes. Is that one of the 3 suits your friend made for you?
Clarence's nervous speech patterns were as clumsy as his movements. He often stammered his way through conversations, turning a simple "good morning" into a minute-long ordeal. Words tumbled out in half-finished bursts. Sentences trailed off into mutters that only he seemed to understand. Sometimes he argued with himself mid-sentence, correcting words that didn't need correcting. The result was dialogue that felt both awkward and strangely musical. Silence became a weapon in the comedy as viewers waited for him to finally finish. Jane often looked on with amused patience as Clarence stumbled over his own thoughts. His mutters filled the air even when nobody asked him a question. This verbal awkwardness mirrored his physical disasters perfectly. Just as he couldn't handle teapots or trays, he couldn't handle words. Fans found the stammering endearing, not annoying because it revealed his vulnerability. It made him more human, more sympathetic, and more bizarre. Clarence's voice became as iconic as his accidents.
You have to have ever such good eyesight for a job like that.
Nothing wrong with my eyesight.
Fact 8.
marriage so important to you?
Well, not marriage exactly, no, it's the other bit.
One of the strangest things about Clarence was how simple tasks became epic adventures. Polishing shoes turned into a 20-minute sequence of chaos. Making tea looked like a battle with cups and kettles. Carrying flowers ended with petals scattered across the floor. Even walking across a room carried enormous risk. He treated every duty with absolute seriousness, which made his failures funnier. The humour came from watching him commit fully to each task. Clarence wasn't lazy or careless. He cared too much. His sincerity made the chaos believable and hilarious. Fans loved seeing ordinary life exaggerated into comic disaster. The show proved that you didn't need big stories or complicated plots to be funny. A broom, a rug, or a cup could provide endless laughs. The everyday became extraordinary in Clarence's hands. His simplicity was his curse, but also his charm.
You know how to spot a man's weak spot, don't you, eh? His athlete's foot.
Achilles' heel.
Yeah, that, yeah.
Fact 9.
Well, not now. You've painted them blue as well.
Unlike fast-paced comedies, Clarence unfolded slowly and patiently. Scenes often stretched longer than viewers expected. A joke could build for minutes before finally collapsing into chaos. This slower rhythm created tension, making every mishap more satisfying. The pauses gave Clarence's stammer more weight, turning hesitation into humour. A single silence could feel longer than a punchline. Viewers laughed not only at the accidents but at the waiting. The show allowed the audience to anticipate disaster with glee. Some called the pace unusual, but others praised its originality. It felt like comedy in slow motion where each stumble mattered. The deliberate tempo became part of Clarence's identity. Nothing was rushed, and that gave space for awkwardness. His world moved at a different speed, strange, patient, and unforgettable. That gentle pace is why Clarence stood apart from other sitcoms.
You never.
I did.
You didn't.
All right, then I didn't. But in spite of the fact that I didn't, I start Monday.
Fact 10.
No, it was the Fiddler's Arms. Would I collect Mrs. Tithridge, as she's rather the worse for wear?
Clarence may have been short-lived, but it gained a cult following. Fans remembered its odd blend of slapstick and sweetness long after it ended. Quotes and accidents stuck in people's minds for years. Clarence's bumbling innocence gave the show a charm that never faded. For many, it became a hidden treasure of British comedy. Viewers described it as both bizarre and comforting at the same time. Clarence himself was unlike any other sitcom character, fragile, chaotic, and lovable. The show proved that comedy didn't need grand plots to make an impact. A clumsy butler could carry an entire series. Its short run preserved its magic, keeping it fresh. Fans who discovered it later treated it like a secret gem. They celebrated the balance of innocence and disaster. Even today, Clarence remains remembered by those who enjoy the oddest corners of comedy. His legend proves that sometimes the strangest shows last the longest in memory.